So, Jesus even said that now it's your hour. It's your time, Satan. All right, here we go. Hope you guys are ready for this. All right, so they arrest him, and they're leading him to his trials. And this is when it starts. In Matthew chapter 26, it says, starting at verse 67, it says that they spat in his face and beat him. Another struck him with the palms of their hands, saying, "Prophesy to us, Christ. Who's the one who struck you?" And in Luke chapter 22, it basically says the same things, but it adds that they blindfolded him and struck him. All right, now keep in mind the crowd. Keep in mind the crowd. And these are big, burly Roman soldiers. I mean, like John over here. You know, these are big guys. These are big guys. And you would think that the fact that they blindfolded him is uninteresting, but it is, because what happens when you see a punch coming, you try to tense yourself to kind of buffer the blows. But I don't know if anyone has been hit with a sucker punch or been a hit when they didn't see it coming. It rocks your world. I mean, it's like, whoa. So Jesus, by them blindfolding him, he was unable to, see a punch coming and tense himself. He was just there and didn't know when the punch was to come. They would just come. And you got to understand that they just didn't, punch him. They punched him, They understand how to inflict pain. They punched him. And he was from all over. He was getting punched left and right. And then they spit on him. It just wasn't a spit. It was like, boom, 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 from all over. Think about the layers of thick, slimy mucus just all over him, and then just punching him and punching him and punching him. He had to have been concussed. He had to have been knocked almost unconscious. Had to have been. But think about his face, how it was, he had bruises and it was swelling everywhere. Everywhere. His face was probably so swollen that we probably couldn't recognize him. This is the punching. This is what it's talking about here. In Isaiah 50, he says that I gave my back to those who struck me, and my cheeks to those who pulled out my beard. I did not hide my face from the shame of spitting. So you have to think that during this time they were punching him, also grabbing chunks of his beard. Hitting him. He said it. They pulled out my beard. Keep in mind the frenzy that was there, because Satan was induced. He induced this vicious, venomous anger towards Jesus, and it was all directed towards him. Keep in mind, all the hosts of the darkness was there, influencing, instigating the whole mob. All right, so that happened. So after that, the scourging. All right. What they used was it was a whip, and with this whip, it had metal iron balls tied to it and bone tied to it. And so usually there would be like 2 Roman soldiers on either side, and the condemned man, in this case Jesus, was tied like this on an upright pole. He didn't have any clothes on. His back and legs, everything was exposed. And so what happened was they would, with all their might. And so it doesn't say exactly how many lashes that he received. The Jewish law was 39. But you have to understand that this particular scourging was particularly harsh and particularly cruel. I have to say that there's probably no other that was as harsh and was as cruel as what Jesus received. Now, what happens is each blow, it bruises and it bruises the skin and essentially kind of tenderizes it. And so each succeeding blows, it rips the skin more and more. And it goes deeper and deeper down to the skeletal muscle. And so by the time it was finished, there was quivering ribbons of bleeding flesh. That's what his whole backside represented. It was ribbons of flesh. I'm not trying to be dramatic. I'm not trying to be grotesque. If someone's offended, I apologize. But this is how it was. And so just imagine that. And it kept on and on and on and on and on and on and on. You know, we have a little video from the Passion of Christ, but we're not even showing it right now. We're not even showing it. Then we're not even showing it. Think about it. Put yourself there, every lash ripping you apart. Okay, so that's discouraging. And keep in mind what the Bible says about that. It just says that, so then Pilate took him and scourged him. That's all it says. It's very nondescript about that. You have to understand the practice and the tools and the methods used to understand that this is what actually happened. The Mayo Clinic and several other physicians, they did a study on the effects of the scourging. And I just want to read to you a couple of paragraphs from what it says. And this is from the Mayo Clinic. It says that as the Roman soldiers repeatedly struck the victim's back with full force, the iron balls would cause deep contusions, and the leather thongs and sheep bones would cut into the skin. Then, as the flogging continues, the lacerations would tear into the underlying skeletal muscles and produce quivering ribbons of bleeding flesh. Pain and blood loss generally set the stage for a circulatory shock. The extent of the blood loss may have well been contributed to how long the victim would survive on the cross. All right. So discouraging. You would think that at that point, it's done, it's over. They can't do anything else to him. You would think that they were tired, their appetite for Jesus would subside. You would think that, but no. It's just only halfway finished. Only halfway finished. Next, the crown of thorns. After they scourged him, they fastened together branches that had thorns, maybe 1 to 2 inches thick. Okay, they fastened together. They put it on his head. Now keep in mind that the head, the skull, is the most vascular area of the body, meaning that there's a lot of blood vessels around this part. And so it tends to bleed very easily, profusely. And so when they put this crown of thorns on the head, keep in mind, they took the reed, they just didn't place it on his head, they took the reed and they banged it on his head, banged it on his head, banged it on the head. So as a result, the long thorns would go deeper and deeper and deeper into his skull. I'm not even talking about the pain. I'm not even talking about the pain. And then it says that they put a scarlet robe on him. And so, again, you would think that even that would be uninteresting. They put a robe on him, but keep in mind how his back was. Keep in mind the condition of his backside from the scourging. And so what happens when they did that? His wounds, the blood, adhered itself to his back. Okay? They connected to his back, and they stuck to his back. And it was there for a decent amount of time. And the Bible says that when they led him to be crucified, they took off the robe. That's all it says. But keep in mind that as it adhered to his back, when they ripped it off, it reopened all of those wounds, causing excruciating pain, almost to the original origin of the scourging. It caused that much pain, and reopened the wounds, excruciating. We had bandages before, little bitty bandages. You know what I mean? With a little bitty wound. And we would just, we all done that before, right? Because it hurts. Imagine what they did with him when they ripped off. Unimaginable. But this is what happened when it says that they took off the robe. This is what happened.